You have no idea how lustful this woman is. Her husband, to prevent her from sneaking around, installed 7 cameras in their home. The sole purpose was to monitor her, but despite all his precautions, he couldn't stop his young and beautiful wife's ravenous desires. While her husband was away, she made several friends in the village, ranging from older men in their 60s and 70s to younger men in their 20s. Yet, out of all these friends, a few of them became jealous, each wanting her attention solely for themselves. So, the question is, what kind of charm does this woman possess? On October 28, 2018, in Chifeng City, Inner Mongolia, it was Yan Liang's son's 1-month celebration banquet. His father, Yan Lao, who always favored sons over daughters, had been preparing for the event for over a week. But midway through the banquet, Yan Liang noticed that his father had not yet appeared. Puzzled, he called his father, only to find that his phone was turned off. Caught up in the busy festivities, Yan Liang couldn't search for his father immediately and assumed something had come up. However, as soon as the banquet ended, he rushed to his father's house, only to find the door locked. Using the spare key his father had given him, Yan Liang entered the house. As expected, his father was not home. After speaking with their neighbor, Mrs. Zhang, Yan learned that no one had seen his father for 2 days. Alarmed, he immediately reported his father missing to the police. The police arrived quickly at Yan Lao's house. Upon inspection, everything seemed in order. The house was clean, the doors and windows were intact, and nothing appeared to have been stolen. There were no signs of struggle. The police concluded that if Yan Lao had truly gone missing or was harmed, his home was unlikely the scene of the crime. They then questioned Yan Liang, who revealed that the last time he spoke to his father was on the 26th, when his father had mentioned going out to drink with their fellow villager, Uncle Su. After that, Yan hadn't been able to reach him. With this new lead, the police located Uncle Su for questioning. Su stated that since he had helped organize Yan Liang's son's celebration, Yan Lao came over on the 26th with some drinks and food as a thank you. They had a few drinks together, but by around 9 p.m., Yan Lao left to go home and sleep. Uncle Su expressed his sorrow over Yan Lao's disappearance, emphasizing their lifelong friendship. He insisted he would never harm his old friend. Despite Uncle Su's sincere demeanor, the police remained suspicious and conducted a background investigation. They found that Uncle Su was a simple, honest man with no known enemies. Both men had drunk heavily that night, and given Uncle Su's condition, it seemed unlikely that he could have committed a murder after drinking. The police then reviewed surveillance footage from October 26, hoping to find clues. However, they were met with disappointment. The route from Yan Lao's home to Uncle Su's was a blind spot, with no cameras in sight. It seemed as if Yan Lao had vanished into thin air. While the police were growing frustrated with the case, on the morning of the 29th, Uncle Su unexpectedly showed up at the station. He said he remembered something during their drinking session. Yan Lao had bragged about having a beautiful young mistress. Uncle Su hadn't taken it seriously, even teasing Yan Lao, saying, "At your age? You're not even capable anymore. What does she see in you? Your manliness or your pension?" Yan Lao was offended and replied, "Don't be fooled by my age, I'm as strong as a tiger." To prove his point, Yan Lao even called his mistress, saying, "Baby, I'll come over after I finish drinking. Warm up the bed for me." After that call, Uncle Su didn't know whether Yan Lao had gone home or to meet his mistress. When the police asked Uncle Su for more information about this woman, he couldn't provide many details. The police then accessed Yan Lao's call records, which quickly led them to a woman named Du Fang, known as the village beauty in a neighboring town. She was 38 but still strikingly attractive. Du Fang had a reputation for loose morals, as she had a husband who worked out of town, and many men in the village had reportedly been involved with her. With this new information, the police brought Du Fang in for questioning. At the station, Du Fang admitted to having a relationship with Yan Lao. She confirmed that Yan Lao had called her that night, but she claimed she had planned to break up with him. According to Du Fang, Yan Lao was simply too old and could no longer satisfy her. However, Yan Lao refused to accept the breakup and insisted on coming over that night. Du Feng said that she waited until midnight but Yan Lao never showed up, so she went to bed. To verify her story, the police went to her house. What they didn't expect was to find that her husband, paranoid about being cheated on, had installed 7 surveillance cameras throughout their home. Reviewing the footage from October 26, the police saw a man visit Du Feng's home briefly at 7 p.m. He left after 3 minutes but returned around 11 p.m. Shortly afterward, Yan Lao appeared on the footage, entering Du Feng's house never to be seen leaving again. Curiously, there was a 4-hour gap in the footage. Upon further investigation, the police found that the surveillance system had not malfunctioned, nor had there been any power outage that night. It was clear that someone had deliberately turned off the cameras. But who did it, and why? The police brought Du Feng in for questioning again, and she changed her story. She now claimed that Yan Lao had indeed come over that night, but they had only talked about breaking up, and then he left. Where he went afterward, she didn't know. The police, however, weren't buying it. They soon identified the man in the footage as Gao Zhanyu, a local villager and one of Du Feng's lovers. Based on the evidence, the police concluded that Yan Lao had likely been murdered after entering Du Feng's house and that Gao was the prime suspect. The police arrested Gao at his home, and he quickly confessed. The question remained, why did Gao kill someone 30 years his senior? According to Gao, he had met Du Feng 2 years earlier. At the time, Gao had just discovered his wife's infidelity, leading to a heated argument and their subsequent divorce. Heartbroken, Gao turned to alcohol to drown his sorrows. One day, he decided to use a social app to find someone to talk to, and that's how he met Du Feng. What started as a casual conversation quickly turned into a physical relationship. Gao knew Du Feng was married with children and had multiple lovers, but he didn't care. He had fallen for her and even dreamed of marrying her, though she repeatedly refused. 6 months before the incident, Gao had caught Yan Lao and Du Feng in bed together. Enraged, he confronted Yan Lao, demanding that he stay away from Du Feng. Yan Lao, unbothered, told Gao, "Mind your own business. She's not your wife." From that moment, the two men became rivals, each wishing to kill the other. On the night of October 26, after spending some intimate time with Du Feng, she suddenly urged Gao to leave earlier than usual. Gao didn't think much of it at first, but after returning home, he realized something was off. He usually left late at night, so why was Du Feng rushing him out so early? Suspecting that Yan Lao might be coming over, Gao snuck back to Du Feng's house and hid in the kitchen, waiting to confront his rival. At 晚上11点, Yan Lao arrived. Before Gao could act, Yan Lao spotted him and, in a fit of rage, grabbed Gao by the throat, threatening him to end things with Du Feng. That was the last straw for Gao. Furious, he fought back, punching Yan Lao in the face and knocking him to the ground. Yan Lao, much older and weaker, quickly succumbed to his injuries. In a panic, Gao convinced Du Feng to turn off the cameras. He then used an electric scooter to transport Yan Lao's body to a nearby sand pit, where he buried him. The police found the scooter at Gao's home and later recovered Yan Lao's body from the sand pit.